Okay, Tony's.
Cheers, everybody. This is my
Oh my
porridge.
god. I can't. Oh my
How's
gosh.
everybody doing today? This beautiful Friday.
You're gonna have to start.
All right, so today, last week we talked about the internal factors that influence your mediumship
Oh.
confidence. So we talked about the feelings of not feeling like you're enough at times, right? We all feel that way. I'm not enough. Who am I to be doing this? We talked about what other internal factors did we talk about?
Oh, there's so many things that can come up. I
Yeah, like can I handle all of the energy? Like again, am I enough? Right? All these different things that are tied to am I enough? Can I handle the energy of all of this?
if I'm on the right level, like if I'm going to practice mediumship, am I on the right level if I'm in a class, or am I ready to join the class? Should I practice a bunch before I take a class? That's all internal. Now we're going to talk about the external. So the external is really just as important because the external more so are excuses for the internal. We don't think that right away, right?
It is. If you take any, so think about as you're listening to this podcast episode, and you're thinking about the external factors that are impacting you, your confidence. What you do is ask yourself why several times. Why is this impacting me? Why is this impacting me? And you'll find out your internal reason. So say that it's like, well, I don't want to, the mediumship, my confidence gets crushed because it's what everybody else thinks around me. My friends, my family, the people closest to me, they're really just, they're sending me bad vibes and it's making me feel like I'm not confident. Obviously, you all know that it's nothing external that can do that if you fix the internal. So the thing is it's not the people on the outside, right? It's really you not feeling like enough. And I could speak from experience because at the beginning when I first started doing this 14 years ago, connecting with past loved ones and in this realm, I wasn't as confident as I am now, obviously, because confidence comes from taking action. You don't need confidence to start. So when people would say stuff around me, even if it was just joking around or if it was serious, it was like on the outside of my body, I had all these scabs. And if they touched it, it impacted me a lot. And now I don't have as many. So whenever people say something to me, it doesn't impact me. Why? Because I got a hold of that internal. So if you need to figure out that internal stuff, go back and watch that last episode that we did last week. And then pay attention to this episode because it's really important to point out the external too, because it's all a clue. It's all a clue of what's holding you back from being confident in your mediumship, whatever that means to you. Sometimes for people it means that you just want to have this as a life skill so that way when you're living your life naturally that you could connect with past loved ones in a natural way, like not forcing your friends or family or people around you to give a reading, but it just naturally happens, just like it did with me and Lindsay's life over the last decade or so, to where things have naturally happened. I've had moments with some family members and friends that I never thought they would be open minded to this stuff. I was hanging out with them over these last 14 years, and all of a sudden, we would both have goosebumps and we would know who it was. Or we would see a sign, right? Just these, we'll call them miracles, take place when you open up to it. And some of you, that confidence means like maybe you started your mediumship business, you've already been doing what I just described, but now you're like, I want to take this as a business now. And whether it's part time, full time, it doesn't matter. And I want to really serve people with this. Well, now that's a whole nother level because the more that you're squeezed, you go and start a business, you go and put pressure on you, the more internal stuff's going to come out. When you squeeze
Mm.
an orange juice comes out. So when you start your business, you're going to start having more and more internal stuff come out. So some of you, your confidence in mediumship, raising it more and keeping it means for your business. Some of you just want it as a life skill.
Yes, that's a lot of information, a lot of good information that needs to really be talked about because going to the external, when you're pointing out things like you want the safe environment, of course, you want to practice in a safe environment where you feel like you're not judged doing the readings. Now, sometimes when you're in practice mode, you don't know how to practice because you don't know who to practice with. You gave the example of the family and friends. There was a handful of times where you had those special moments. And then the other side of it, you have moments where, like, okay, what is he talking about? Or what is she talking about? I've had it myself where they don't
Absolutely.
believe in it. So The safe environment comes when you put yourself in situations. We discovered this last night when we were teaching our webinar. We're talking to all these different people from different places all around the world in that webinar. And they were sharing their fears. And it came from the external about where do I practice and how do I even trust that I'm actually getting it? What if I'm making it up? So there was a mix of internal, like that they were acknowledging, that comes up for all of us when we're starting. And then the external was, what if I say something to a family member and, they shun me, or they think that this is a sin, or, they don't believe that all of a sudden this can happen to me. And I shared one of the stories that I had was at the very beginning, you know, people thought, oh gosh, the grieving girlfriend is now connecting in with the other side. That was my fear. And that most likely was happening externally. But really, if I was strong in my belief and knowing what I was doing and really connected
You
there,
wouldn't be focused on
I
it.
wouldn't even be
It
focused
wouldn't
on
touch
it.
you.
And I wouldn't even, it would just roll off my
It
my
wouldn't be a
shoulders.
factor.
So we have to think about those two things, that if there's external happening and you're aware of that, I think that's easier to spot at times, to notice the external compared to the internal if you're not really ready for it. And if you're thinking of, okay, do I have the time? We all have the same amount of time, right? To invest in anything that we want to do. We all have the time. We're deciding where we're placing our time. So, really, it's the internal factor of, do I value this enough? Or do I value myself enough to kind of go deeper with this topic?
Absolutely. Or am I saying that I don't have the time? It's because of what they're saying, because I'm really just fucking scared,
Yeah,
right?
it all comes into that.
And it's one of those things. So like you said, with there's been many times throughout the last 14 years that I tried to, we'll say, force a reading on somebody in a way. Like I would stop as soon as I realized it, but I wasn't as aware of the ideal sitter, the ideal client. What does that mean? Well, when you're giving somebody a reading, it's a two-way street, right? When it's two people. And if I'm sitting here giving Lindsay a reading and she's closed off to it, it's not ideal. It's not an ideal situation for it to happen. So that's what I was doing is I would be with people that if I was intuitively and socially aware, I'd realize this was not the time. Timing is everything. You ever listen to a good song? The reason why it sounds good is because they have timing. And timing is a law of the universe. And it fits here too, to where you have to know when to say something and when to not, when to create the space for it. And I realized that whenever I started to realize this, that I was forcing, it was a tough pill to swallow because anything internal, I'm like, this is me. This is me. I was doing this. I had to accept it. And once I accepted it, I stopped doing it slowly but surely, right? Old habits die slowly sometimes. But then when I started to create that space and I stopped trying to force it on certain people, the same people that I was trying to force it on in the past, it would naturally happen when I was around them because I wasn't attached to it. When you're attached to something and forcing it, like I'm trying to force Lindsay to do something, she's gonna be like, wait, even if she wants to do it, it's gonna make her not want to do it. So force negates, and this plays out in mediumship. So think about that in your own life.
Mm-hmm.
Are you sitting with ideal sitters? Because if you're not and you continuously go down this path, you'll look back 2 years from now and you'll be like, wait, why is my confidence so shattered in mediumship? It's not necessarily that they're not gifted mediums or that they can't do
Right.
this.
Well,
Maybe they
and
don't have the ideal sitter.
yeah, and I don't recommend practicing with family and friends.
Yes.
Like, especially at the beginning. I don't recommend that. Like, if you're practicing, you should be in a group. You should be in a mediumship circle. You should be in a mediumship mentorship, because your confidence will be shot. Because what happens is people are used to seeing you in the human you in a certain light. So that when you are changing and you're trying to freshen up on a craft or trying to learn something new and they hear you, they may think, oh gosh, she has a lot of work to do, you know? Just like piano. If you don't feel comfortable playing the piano, or you don't feel comfortable singing or dancing and you're trying to practice it, the last thing that you want to do is be in front of family members that either feel bad for you, feel sorry for you that you're not doing a great job, or they don't really believe in what you're doing, obviously, because you don't believe in it. So everything is about belief and the energetic space that we're coming from. So just if you're listening to this and you don't do mediumship, even think about this when you're trying to figure out, maybe it's a new business, or it's a new venture, like a new relationship, whatever it may be. Sometimes you have to work on that and really build the belief in yourself before you present it. I think that's very important. I remember when you and I first met, there was very few people that we shared every detail with, right? I think you
Yes.
told your mom first, I told my mom. Um, but you have to keep certain things sacred, and that's really important with this journey with mediumship. You want to keep it sacred, and that means surrounding yourself with peers or mentors that can hold the space for you when you're trying to navigate through these situations. And that goes into play when you think of external and internal, I
Yes.
feel. So I feel like both of those things are, and we're talking today specifically about external. But if you set the right things up for yourself, last night we talked about the map. You taught about the map, the importance of having the right guide, the right points on the map for your mediumship journey. We talked
Yeah,
about
yeah.
that.
I had a lawn care business, and for like the first month or so of my lawn care business, several years ago, I would use MapQuest to find the addresses to each yard. And who's ever used
Mm-hmm.
MapQuest before? Exactly. So I'd be getting lost, and I have to guess and go, and then eventually I'd find my way there. But MapQuest was a shitty map. As soon as I got a GPS, it was like way more smooth, way more efficient, fast, and that's what you want because
And you can see the landmarks on the way too when you have the good GPS.
exactly all of it. So you got a well written map, a well detailed map, which you get when you join a program or you have a great mentor that knows the map. It's going to be way more effortless for you. So for people with time is another one. Time is another one that we hear is like I don't have the time to do that. And usually these people are people that are like looking up YouTube videos and they're practicing with their friends and family and they're doing some of the things we've already
Or they're
talked
just
about,
reading books.
or they're reading books and they're thinking I don't have time to invest, to join a program, to be around um, certain people. And the thing is because you're not clear with your vision. You're not clear with the value of what mediumship is. So I've been working out my entire life and I haven't been stretching well my entire life. You know why? Because I used to tell the old story of, I don't have time to stretch. I don't have time to stretch. Why did I say that? Well, I know now. Looking back, it was because I didn't value stretching. I didn't understand the value of what stretching is actually doing for me. As I got older and I looked into it, and then maybe my back started to cramp up a little bit, and I started to put stretching into my regimen, and I started to see this value.
Mm-hmm.
Now, all of a sudden, I had all this time to stretch. I stretch every day at least 15 minutes now because I see the value in it. To where before I said I don't have no time. So when you think about mediumship, you got to think about, do I want to use this as a life skill? Do I want to be a full time medium? How do I want to use this mediumship? How can mediumship benefit my life? Take some time to get clear for that. Because we've
And
heard some people say, they're not going to join a program because they're like, I don't know if I want to do this full time.
right. And sometimes you don't. The one thing that I will say, I didn't know. I had no clue. So that's a big thing, is sometimes you won't know in the moment, and that's okay if you don't know.
Yeah.
Trying to decide that. So I think that's a big thing.
Yeah, and you don't have to know, but
Yeah,
it's a matter of just getting clear on, even if you think that you're just going to use it as a life skill, it's valuable as a life skill. You already know this. Your soul's pulling you to this for a reason.
yeah,
Just like my soul pulled me to stretching. It was like saying, no, no, this is going to move you forward. This is progress, right? So you have to trust that. And even if you don't think that you want to do it at full time as a medium, it's like you got to look at this. This is a valuable life skill. This is something that you've already had experiences with. You know the healing power of it. And the better you sharpen this skill, the more healing you could bring in to your life, to everybody around you. And it's just getting clear about that. Because then when you're clear about that vision, then you know where you're going to invest your time, money,
right.
energy.
And you might find that, I know that this is a life skill. that right there is the ticket to investigate it. And that's one thing that we talked about last night is with these skills, whether you're a coach, you're a healer, you have that information, everything changes in your life, your personal life, the work that you're doing. You're opening up and you're actually getting the map from the spirit realm too, which is pretty amazing. Sometimes we don't know if we want to do it as a business or a mission, and that's okay. But just knowing, I know I want more value. And we talked about time and the importance of time. Even if you go onto your phone and you look on settings and you see, wow, I don't know if it's on settings, on the phone, how many hours have I spent on social media? There's a way that you can get that notification. Most likely you've spent more than 30 minutes a day on social media. That time right there, if we're really talking about time, you can use that to practice if you really value it.
Yeah, and I know a lot of coaches watch our podcast too and listen to our podcast. I'm not a full-time medium. I don't give readings full-time. I use it as a life skill in my life. It's beautiful, brought me so many benefits, so much connection. I'm also a coach, and it's another tool in my tool bag. So I use it during my coaching sessions. It's powerful because we're sitting here trying to help another person. If I could have their past loved ones and spirit guides help too, more the merrier, right? It's a mastermind we start to create. So it's became a tool in my tool bag as a coach. So for all of you coaches out there too, there's a value in it whenever it during your coaching practice, right? Because with coaches, every coach is not the same. Every coach has different tools, and this is just another tool that you can use to really help impact people and move people forward.
Right. And then the same goes for Reiki. And that's one of the common themes that comes up is someone's giving Reiki to their client and all of a sudden they're giving Reiki and they're getting messages in the background that are popping up randomly, but they don't know how to navigate to go deeper. That's an important piece. I think that's when I recognized when I was doing Reiki just for fun and going to Reiki circles, I realized that there was intuitive information that was coming up also from past loved ones, but I just got bits and pieces and I didn't know if I could do it on command or on demand. It just naturally flowed out when I was working on someone. So I think that when you have the skill of mediumship and you can go deeper and navigate it through it, it could make the healing practice that much more powerful. Because some people hold things in their body and it's connected to trauma, from someone that's passed away and they didn't have the best relationship and all of a sudden their loved ones coming through to help out with this healing or to give information and unlock something in the body. We've talked a lot about the physical body and how we hold a lot in. That's connected to everything that we're doing.
Yeah, so think about it with you. Think about first, what's your insight so far as we've been sharing what we've been sharing? What's your insight that you've received so far? And then what's an action step that you can take from it? And then also think about what are the specific external factors that are really hindering your mediumship confidence. Get very clear on that and write it out. Put it in the
Mm-hmm.
comments too, because as you share it in the comments, and you'll start to see a pattern, just like we've seen with working with thousands of psychic mediums over the years, is we're all very similar. There's usually like three or four external factors, like specifics, that will play out. So as you start to see them typed out in the comments and you start to join communities like this and you hear people speak what their fears are, they start to realize that we're all very similar. Even people that have been doing it for 30, 40 years, the people that you think, that are
Right.
the experts, that are the professionals, we all feel these same similar feelings. It's just you get better at it and your soul gets louder, your inner voice gets louder, and those get quieter. So
Right.
you're just turning your music up. You're turning your soul up. You're turning that other music down. And it's powerful because then you're able to keep moving forward. We've heard so many times of clients that put the gas on
Yeah.
and then they put the brakes on,
That's a very
meaning,
common theme. That's a huge theme with it, with mediumship. You start and then you stop.
right? They're like, I was in it for a year and then I haven't done anything. And it's like, if you do that, like each time, really, it's like starting over. Like of course, it's not wasted. You still carry some of that wisdom, but you got to wind up again. You got to do it again. If you just get something that's sustainable, I tell people this with working out too. Like, find something that's sustainable for you that you know you're going to keep doing.
Yeah,
And that's okay because consistency is more powerful than anything.
that's the big thing that we recognize when we're practicing with students or whether it's coaching or practice readings, just setting a little bit of time, even if it's once a week, just setting the time that on the calendar, I'm going to practice at this point. And it doesn't have to be 5 hours of practice either. So we want to hear from you. What insights have you received? And then also, for those of you who have been asking if the webinar is still available, we do have a replay. So you can sign up on lindsaymarino.com, click on Mediumship Events, and then it will get sent to your email address.
But only watch it if you want to have more clarity on your confidence with your mediumship.
Yes. Okay. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.